Hey guys, we're back for another week of day trading, and after last week I finally felt like I started getting back on track. We recovered the combine, got ourselves back into the green, and more importantly, we identified a few habits that were holding me back. So coming into this week, my goal wasn't really to make more money, it was just to build more trust in my process. And some days that meant admitting I didn't have a read, some days it meant throwing away my original bias, and other days it meant waiting for confirmation or learning to trust when it finally showed up. And this week definitely taught me a lot, so let's jump into the trades. Today's lesson wasn't about taking a trade, it was about knowing when you genuinely don't have a read. And coming into the week, my goal was simple. Just stick to the habits that I built up last week and just trust my reads and execute when the opportunity was there. Initially I was looking for shorts and we formed some chop, then confirmed they moved lower. The only problem was price never gave the retest that I wanted. It just dumped. And after sweeping out so much sell side liquidity though, I started thinking that there could be a long opportunity if buyers stepped in and gave me the confirmation. Then market open absolutely sent price lower and it got bought back up pretty quickly, so maybe the long idea wasn't dead after all. But after that nothing really felt clean, and the next couple of moves just didn't line up with the narrative I wanted to see. Then this massive pump just came out of nowhere, and honestly this is where I started to second guess everything. The more I looked at the chart, the less convinced I became that I actually understood what today's narrative was. So instead of forcing something, I decided to just call it there. And looking back, there were definitely a couple of setups I could have taken. With a bit more confidence they probably would have been decent trades, but I also don't think my preparation was as good as it normally is, and that probably played a part in why today's narrative never really clicked for me. At the end of the day, I think some sessions are just like that. Even if you're usually able to read markets well, there'll be days where things just don't come as naturally, and I think it's important just to be honest with yourself when that happens. I don't see that as a weakness. If anything, it just reminds me that there's still more for me to learn. So yeah, we'll just be back tomorrow and we'll see what market gives us. Alright, the best trade that I took today started with me throwing away my best idea for today. And after Monday, I just wanted to keep trusting my system. Just read what market gave me and execute when the opportunity was there. And going into the session, we were sitting on a 15-minute support right now. The higher time frame wasn't giving me a clear direction, though we did have a sweep to the buy side. So I was leaning a bit more to the longs, but I didn't want to predict what would happen. I wanted to just wait for some clean displacement before committing to any trade. So I spent a while just waiting. I started lining up a few long ideas, but one after another they all just got invalidated. Then just before market open, price absolutely dumped. We swept some key London lows, and straight after that market open just ripped higher. And for a moment I thought buyers might actually take control, but that momentum faded pretty quickly and price started stalling. Sellers stepped back in, and once we got that clean displacement lower, this is where I switched my trade idea, and this was the confirmation that I was waiting for. And this trade didn't even hesitate. Price moved almost immediately and we closed out on a clean win. And looking back, I think today's biggest lesson wasn't the entry itself, it was being willing to let go of my original idea. Because the higher time frame was conflicted, I knew I couldn't get too attached to one bias. And once price swept liquidity, failed to hold higher, and then sellers showed back up, the story had changed. So instead of trying to force my first idea to work, I just trusted the new narrative and adjusted with it. And I think that's something I'm slowly getting better at. Wednesday ended up being another test of patience, not because the higher time frame was confusing, but because the confirmation I wanted never came. Looking at the high time frame, we had some overlapping imbalances acting like magnets for price. Until those levels were tapped, I still leaned bullish, and after that I wanted to see if sellers could step in and take some control. So I let price develop into market open, and as expected we got the push higher and tapped the higher time frame levels. From there my focus shifted to looking for shorts. The only problem was the low time frame never really agreed. Every time I thought we might finally get the shift lower I was waiting for, buyers continued to hold their ground, and this feeling of doubt never really went away. And as we got closer to macro, I gave myself one last condition. If we didn't get a clean shift from a wick high, I was calling it. I also had work early in the morning, and with FOMC later that day, I wasn't interested in sitting around and hoping for something to happen. And if the setup wasn't there, I was happy to just leave it alone. And as you guessed, the confirmation never came. Price continued pushing higher, so I just closed the charts and called it a day. Looking back, I still think the higher time frame idea made sense. The problem wasn't the idea, it was just that the lower time frame never confirmed it, and I think that's an important distinction. A good market read doesn't automatically mean that I'll get an entry or it'll be a good trade. Sometimes the best decision you can make is accepting that market hasn't delivered an entry, and that's another habit I'm trying to reinforce, and I think today was a good reminder of it. I knew exactly what I wanted to do today. I just didn't do it. Coming into Thursday, I actually felt pretty good about my analysis. The problem was mentally, I just wasn't feeling my best. I think it was a mix of work, training, and a few other things on my mind, but price was still pretty conflicted overall. The hourly spot was holding, and the higher time frame wasn't giving a completely clear picture either. So I came into the session with an open mind, just waiting for market to show its hand. The market open dumped pretty hard, and it was bought back up almost immediately. And looking back, that was my trade. Like everything I had been waiting for was there, but instead of executing, I hesitated. I wanted just a little bit more confirmation, and by the time I realized I already had enough, price had just taken off without me. And just watching the move unfold was honestly frustrating, not because I didn't get the analysis right, but because I didn't trust myself enough to act on it. As price kept pushing higher, the chances of getting another clean pullback became less and less likely, so I decided to just close the charts and leave it there. And looking back, I don't think I needed more confirmation. I already had enough. We had swept multiple lows and reclaimed the 5-minute order block with strong buying volume, and the setup had everything that I was usually waiting for. The problem wasn't the analysis, it was just me executing on the position. I also missed a second continuation move later on, but that's not really a trade I normally take anyways, so I'm not too concerned about that one. The market will always give me more chances, and my job is to just trust my preparation, execute when my setup is there, and be ready to do it again next week. Alright boys, that wraps up another solid week. Looking back, I don't think this week was really about the trades. It was about the decision making behind them. On Monday, I had to accept that I didn't have a clean read, and Tuesday reminded me to not get too attached to one idea and to adapt when the market tells a different story. Wednesday reinforced that even good higher time frame ideas still need a lower time frame confirmation, and Thursday reminded me that once the confirmation is there, I just need to trust myself enough to execute. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this week. Trading isn't just about learning how to read the charts, it's about learning to trust yourself, and some days you'll get it right, some days you'll hesitate, some days you'll miss the move completely, but there's no point getting stuck on all the what ifs. The market will always be there tomorrow. All I can do is keep showing up, keep working on my habits, and keep trying to become a little bit better every single week. But yeah, that's about it for this week, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy the video, then I'd really appreciate if you showed some love down below. Just really genuinely helps the channel out a lot and means a lot. And other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.